wanna know what you, yeah, I wanna know what you want. My niggas gon' blow at you, yeah, my niggas gon' blow at you down.
What is up and how's it going, B+ gang? So it seems like the past couple of years have really marked a new era of rappers finding themselves in some very serious legal issues. It's almost like every couple of weeks it seems like your favorite rapper is finding themselves at the end of some serious litigation. But then on top of that, it is also in very highly stacked against them cases. Like it used to be the case where you would just see a rapper like in Playboy Cardi or Lil Yachty or something get caught up in a traffic stop with a gun, you know. Now they got a gun charge in like Idaho or something. For a period of time, it was kind of like your badge of honor, you know. You got your little rap stamp, and you might even spend not even one night in the county jail. But it's like nowadays, if they catch you for that traffic jam, that same traffic light stop, now they have a list of all of the crimes you committed pulled up just in case you try some shit. Like, it's not even funny at this point, but whenever I hear rappers say they're gonna get out soon, I'm just like, oh my god, bro, here we go again. Is this nigga serious? Because if you think about it right now, there is such an unprecedented amount of high profile court cases going on simultaneously in the rap scene, genre, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it doesn't really seem like it's such a good time to be a rapper, if that makes any sense. I think it also goes into this age-old saying, you know, that I've heard before. And it goes, you cannot be any kind of famous criminal. You know, there's a lot of people that don't really choose to be criminals, you know, they're pushed into this life. And it happens at points in their life where they can't really understand the ramifications of their actions. So it literally baffles me when I see niggas that basically already made it, just throw it all away. Now I feel like that statement isn't any more prevalent and obvious than in the case of YNW Melly. So if you're unfamiliar with who he is, I'll give you the brief rundown here. He was a part of that very last golden wave of SoundCloud artists to reach mainstream prominence back in 2018. And I mean, by the time I first heard of him personally, he already had a song with Kanye West and was being blasted on every fucking radio station. But I gotta say, there was always something about this Melly guy. Like, it was weird, you know? He was actually a genuinely talented dude, it seemed like.
Oh, now I got mixed personalities. This bitch switched up my whole mentality. This girl, she got mixed personalities. One day she's happy, then she's mad at me.
A talented dude, but still troubled no less, because his rise to fame and prominence would be cut dramatically short when he would get arrested and charged with the premeditated murder of two of his best friends who were members of the YNW gang or collective. And this is kind of what I mean when I say like these rappers have a tendency to get themselves wrapped up in cases where they're just completely stacked against them. Because although Melly was only a superstar for just a matter of months, he merely graced upon superstardom. It didn't really take long at all for them to gather enough evidence and get him the fuck up out of there. And honestly, I don't know if that's a testament to how good the feds have gotten over the years, or if it's an indication of just how stupid a lot of these rappers are. I mean, there's this infamous footage of YNW Melly at an NBA game just throwing up like 50 fucking gang signs. Like, it just seemed like it wasn't gonna end. It's like, I mean, my nigga, it's only a matter of time before they find us. If it's only a matter of time before they find you, if you just gonna go out like that doing all that. And once we get into some of the specifics of the case, you start to see just how uncalculated and sloppily brazen these niggas like could have been to just actually think that this is some shit they could have done and then get away with it afterwards. Like, it's so dumb that one of the defenses is that there's no way that Melly could have done this because of how badly done the whole thing was. So for this portion of the video, I'm gonna ask my lovely assistant, the beautiful ChatGPT, to read me some of the excerpts that I have here from various news sources, websites, and you know, etc. So, ChatGPT, I want you to describe everything that has happened in this case to me like I'm a fucking 5-year-old. Let me hear it.
It is a photo from the other side of the vehicle.
Information has come up about a case where he is accused of doing something very wrong. The police say that YNW Melly killed two of his friends, and another person from his rap crew named YNW Bortlin helped hide what happened. There are some documents that were filed in a special place called Broward County, and they talk about what happened during a shooting in a car. The police found evidence that suggests the two friends who were killed were shot from inside the car, not from outside like they thought before. YNW Bortlen, who was driving the car, said it was a drive-by shooting, but the evidence doesn't match that story. The police found a shell casing, which is like an empty bullet, inside the car where YNW Melly was sitting. This contradicts what YNW Bortlen said about the shooting. The documents also say that YNW Melly and YNW Bortlen fired shots from outside the car to make it look like a drive-by shooting. They even drove around with the bodies in the car for some time to come up with a story before going to the hospital. The police also found messages from YNW Melly on Snapchat where he talked about the shooting. He mentioned that it was his fault and that YNW Bortlen helped him. The police believe that YNW Melly was the one who pulled the trigger and that YNW Bortlen helped cover up what happened. Now, YNW Melly and YNW Bortlen are in jail because they were arrested for the murders. YNW Melly was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, and YNW Bortlen was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of helping after the fact. Since this happened, more people have been listening to YNW Melly's songs, especially one called Murder on My Mind. It has become popular on music platforms.
So yeah, they quite literally got called out on their bullshit right away because there was all kinds of holes in their story. No pun intended. Like, bro, you know, at one point in time, maybe like 80 years ago in the fucking Paleozoic era, you could tell a tale that's so tall during the fucking police investigation and maybe you'd have a better chance of getting off on the crime. But now, today, in the modern technological era age, that shit really ain't gonna fly. Like, did you forget about science, motherfucker?
And my determination was that this is not a drive-by shooting. All of these rounds are done, and all but one is done at a stationary position. Mr. Williams was not even aware he was about to be shot. When Mr. Williams was shot, Mr. Thomas puts up his hands and is shot, and then is shot again. There's no time for anybody to switch a firearm. If there were, I believe one of those individuals would be alive. There's no time to switch. It was a very, a rather rapid event of firing.
If you can show there's a separation between the shots that came from within the car and the shots that came from without the car, and that the death happened within the car, that couldn't have happened outside the car.
Because Mr. Thomas is already crumpling at this point, and he is actually he's in the clear, if you will, of Site H.
Which, like, this is all crazy because, you know, the defense of Melly that his side is gonna go for is like motive, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna try to say like, why would Melly even want to kill people he considered his close friends? They'll bring up things like him actually having these 2 dudes' names tattooed onto him. And for a lot of this time, you know, while the trial has been stalling and sitting, a lot of the Free Melly guys have been like,
yo, just wait till that evidence come out, bro. He's innocent, man. Believe me, Free Melly.
But I think that excuse is a bit hollow when you have literal experts tracing the bullet trajectory to the exact place where he sat his ass. And on top of that, they can trace your cell phone before and after it happened. So not only do they know and have your text messages to other people, but they also know that you drove around for a little bit before you and your man showed up to the hospital with the fabricated story. You know, at the point where the prosecution has a more coherent story, but not only that, like, they can fucking back it up with science, at that point you're kind of fucked. And it's kind of sad because I know things have gotten more serious for Melly as well, because although it's been deliberated on a lot, it does seem as though the death penalty is still on the table for this trial. So there are a lot of people out there speculating that YNW Melly's best bet at this point is to pin a lot of this blame on YNW Bortlen, or whatever, I don't know how the fuck you say his name. And, you know, essentially just throw him under the table since he isn't facing the death penalty by himself. And in my opinion, you know, that's at least a better defense than, you know, I don't know, man, could have been me, could have not been, you know, I sat in the back. Trust me though, you know what I mean? And I guess a lot of people are kind of playing up on this speculation, and they're like, you know, even if Melly were to quote unquote snitch on his friend, that it actually wouldn't be so bad, seeing as how apparently it's not his first trip down this alley.
Now's the time to be honest, okay? Somebody you go to school with?
Yeah.
Same grade?
Yeah.
What's he go by? alternative. Alright.
Which is just like crazy, dog. That shit crazy. Because if all of this information, you know, turns out to be true, YNW Melly could quite literally just be one of the most treacherous and disgusting motherfuckers to ever grace a mic. And I know he has mountains of evidence stacked up against him at this point, but you know, I still don't really want to see him go down like this and fail. But it's like the more I learn about this dude's situation and the ins and out of this case, it just seems like he just dug himself in a hole that nobody could realistically climb themselves out of. So while he is this crazy talented dude on one hand, on the other hand, he's just a crazy dude.
You said you take control. Welcome to the mind of a maniac. Welcome to the mind of a maniac.
Homicide aside, no pun intended, it was just a really dumb crime to commit because it could easily be tied back to him. Like, it doesn't take a fucking criminal mastermind to know if you have the money and the means to like criminally get someone knocked off, that you probably don't want to be the one that's pulling the trigger yourself. Which is like, you know, if there's any story that the defense is able to come up with, at this point it has to be like a literal fucking fairy tale dream scenario to actually be a real thing that happened. And actually, I think this comment that I saw in a YouTube video right here sums up the entire case and my thoughts on it.
Listen, man. The fact that Melly and Bortlin lied about Melly being in the car. The cell towers showed Melly and Zach were in the car together. Melly was dropped off at some point and gets a ride home. Bortlin drives to the hospital by himself with Zach and Juvie, dead long after the shooting took place. Bortlin has no injuries at all. The location that the shooting, according to Bortlin, was supposed to happen at had no broken glass or shell cases. They later found the right location, one shell casing inside the car where they could show that it was fired from the rear driver's seat, hit the ceiling and fell to the floor. The gun trajectory showed that it was close range from someone in the rear driver's seat. The medical examiner witnessing that the bullet wounds from the stage drive-by was after Zach and Juvie was dead and was by the same gun used inside the car. Instagram DMs and self-filmed videos retrieved from his phone insinuating that he is the shooter. Melly is cooked.
Hey, but if Melly's lawyers on some real top G shit and they win this case for him, how baller would that be though? Come on. Like, if they prove his innocence, that would be like motherfucking when OKC blew that 3-1 lead with the Warriors that year, especially for the prosecution. Like, I would just hold my head, bro. But anyways, let me know what you lot think. Are you a fan of YNW Melly's music? Do you think he's innocent here, or do you know that he did something wrong? How do you think this whole trial ordeal is gonna go down? Now, I'm taking all bets here and now. Whatever your thoughts, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.